Well, a joyful evening to everyone. I am recording live from Cleveland, Ohio. My name is Jack Fitzgerald. I had the privilege of being a Jesuit volunteer at Our Lady Guadalupe Parish, your parish, from August of 2017 to August of 2018. So today I want to talk to you about my experience of being at Our Lady Guadalupe as a 22 and 23-year-old Jesuit volunteer, and how that relates to the theme that I know you all are discussing around the joy of the gospel and what it means to be a missionary disciple. So I grew up Catholic, like some of us did here as well, I'm sure. And I always had questions about my faith. I was really curious to understand it, especially as I got older. So when I was in college, I sought out the company and conversation of religious life. I found a mentor in Father Tom Woost, who was my pastor in Cleveland, Ohio. And we would send emails and write letters back and forth, and he would send me books. And we just talked back and forth about the Catholicism, the Catholic faith, what it meant to live it. And it was during this time, my senior year of college, that I really started to discern and think about the Jesuit Volunteer Corps program. So I went through the process. I applied, I interviewed at Our Lady Guadalupe over the phone with Father John, author, the pastor at the time, and some parishioners. I know Irma Becerra and Dolores Duran were on the committee. So I remember that interview very, very well. And I accepted it, and they accepted me. And so I was set to ship out, again, as I mentioned, August of 2017. So I was quite nervous. I had never been outside of Cleveland, my hometown, for more than 2 weeks at a time. So you can imagine leaving your home to go to an unfamiliar place for a year might be a little nerve-wracking, but it was in the spirit of wanting to serve and wanting to live out my faith, I wouldn't have had this language at the time, but to be a missionary disciple, to live the gospel. So I signed up, as I mentioned, for the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and I want to share a note about that. So JVC for short was started in I believe it was the late 60s or 70s by a Jesuit priest, Father Jack Morris. And he wanted to engage young people in vital service to marginalized communities. He saw JVC as a means of evangelization and a means to bring young people closer to the church. So for decades now, JVC has been serving that purpose. And now there are about 200 or so folks my age, in their 20s, every year that sign up and do the program and serve in all different parts of the United States and even internationally as well. So our community in San Diego, we lived in Barrio Logan. There's JVs there now. Maybe you've met some of them, but we were a community of 6 living in Barrio Logan there on Irving Avenue. And my roommates and friends now, very good friends now, were Carter, Colleen, Carrie, Lizzie, and Allie. And we all served at different nonprofits throughout the city in the spirit of that mission, brought together by this common desire to serve and the common values of the program: simple living, social justice, spirituality, and community. And it was so neat for me as a JV because I could walk to work every morning. And as you know, a lot of the people that live in Barrio Logan are a part of the Our Lady Guadalupe Parish. So I felt like, for being in a place that I didn't know anyone and I was so far away from home, pretty quickly I started to feel a very strong sense of community. So in preparing some remarks for you today, as I have come to think of this concept of missionary discipleship and the joy of the gospel, I was really spoiled with the parish staff and parish community at Our Lady Guadalupe. My role there was as social outreach coordinator to coordinate some of our social justice programs, including a program that I believe still exists at the parish, A Faith That Does Justice. So it was an educational and action-oriented series around social justice issues in the community, and then a tutoring program for kids in the neighborhood. So that was my role. But I remember starting out at the beginning of the year with a staff retreat. And one of the Jesuits at the time at the parish, he really grounded us in this idea that as we approach the year's work, we needed to ensure that our actions as staff really came from and were inspired by the gospel. And I think that that's really at the heart of Pope Francis's message in the joy of the gospel. So I found some remarks from him about the parish and the parish community that I think are relevant to you as you come to explore this concept of missionary discipleship for yourself. So I'll just read them briefly for you here. The parish community is a community of communities. It's a sanctuary where the thirsty come to drink in the midst of their journey, and a center of constant missionary outreach. And as I read those words, as I pray on those words and reflect on them, I don't know that I've felt this anywhere as strongly as I did at Our Lady Guadalupe Parish. There were so many groups at Our Lady Guadalupe. It seemed that there was a group for everything. And so as I hear those words, a community of communities, I think of Our Lady Guadalupe. And I think that one of the reasons why that might be, I think that might be so exciting for you as you think about this concept of missionary discipleship, is that there are so many different places within the parish that you can plug into. I know that there are groups serving the poor and those in need in Tijuana. There are groups addressing needs right there in the parish community itself. So I would think that you wouldn't have to look too far to find something that would resonate with your desires that you have, your desires to serve. I know that I found that to be the case when I was at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. There seemed to always be something to get involved with. So I'll show some photos at the end of this presentation on some of those things that I got involved with that brought a lot of meaning to that concept of missionary discipleship for me. So I'll share some on that in a minute. And I think that through this, pulling again from the joy of the gospel and again, thinking back on my year at your parish as a young adult, missionary discipleship, it really allows for this concentration on the essentials. So what is essential in our lives as Catholics? So again, I'll pull from this document. Pope Francis says, missionary discipleship is a style that concentrates on what is most beautiful, most grand, most appealing, and at the same time, most necessary. And I believe it to be true that through service, through getting involved in a community and then getting to be a part of a community of communities, especially, as I said, at a parish so active like Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish, through service, you will be exposed to the most essential things in our lives as Catholics. You will experience beautiful things. You will experience grand things, and you will experience the most necessary things in life as a Catholic. So for me, this came in missionary discipleship service to our homeless brothers and sisters. And as you know, that is such a challenge in California and in San Diego. I remember a particular day we had a memorial service for those homeless individuals, brothers and sisters who died as a result of the hepatitis outbreak that happened during that 17-18 year that I was there. And we stuck flowers in the fence below below the bridge down there on Imperial Avenue, where a lot of homeless individuals were living at the time. So I think 20 individuals had passed away from hepatitis outbreak who were homeless when I got out there. And there's a beautiful picture I'll pull up of flowers and candles memorializing their lives. And then we did another action outreach, inviting homeless brothers and sisters from the Barrio Logan community and surrounding community to attend a breakfast. So a group of us took to the community and walked the streets and sidewalks and passed out flyers and shook hands and said hello and had conversation with our homeless brothers and sisters. And they came to the breakfast, and we ate together. So just, again, even in your own community, there are opportunities. I found opportunities to do this missionary disciple work. And being back in Cleveland now, I moved home to be closer to my family, to be near my family again. I've tried to kind of model this framework, if you will, that I learned, I think, so much about when I was in San Diego. It's really applicable anywhere in your life, but within my parish community now, we started a basketball league on Sunday nights, and it's bringing out young people. It's bringing out some of my friends and folks that I haven't seen at church in quite some time. It's really gathering quite a group on Sunday nights to play basketball. So maybe you want to start something at Our Lady Guadalupe that you think would bring others into the community. And I would encourage you to have conversation with parish staff like Hilda about that. I'd encourage you to pray about that. And to really seek that out, to try to be a missionary disciple, because as Pope Francis says, this is really about living what is in the gospel. It's about what is most necessary and most beautiful in our faith. It's about developing and finding community. And I'm so grateful for the lessons that I learned about missionary discipleship through the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and especially at Our Lady Guadalupe Parish. So I'll take you through some photos from my year. This is my family the night before I left for Our Lady Guadalupe. This is Father Tom Woost, who I mentioned on the right, my father, my grandfather, one of my best friends on my left, and my sister. Father Guadalupe was a great intercessor for me while I was living in San Diego, a missionary disciple himself, setting up all of those missions, as you know. My family has a great devotion to him, even before my time in San Diego. So I found a lot of inspiration from him throughout the year. This was my community that I mentioned, my JVC community. Some of my best friends, my brothers and sisters, truly, we got so close during the year, and they loved Our Lady Guadalupe, and I think would say they learned a lot about missionary discipleship there as well. You'll recognize at least one of these individuals, Father Pepe. We just spoke last week. Such an inspiration and a teacher, a mentor, and a friend to me. This photo on the right was actually my last day at Our Lady Guadalupe with Father John, the pastor at the time, and my direct supervisor, another great inspiration and friend and mentor to me. This was a fun photo. One of the ways in which we got involved while we were at Our Lady Guadalupe Parish was we ran a marathon to raise money for one of the orphanages in Tijuana. So you can get creative with missionary discipleship. Brad Mills, who is now a Jesuit priest, and one of my best friends, I did so much with him while I was at Our Lady of Guadalupe. Some of you might recognize Brad. We ran the San Diego Marathon, as I mentioned, together. So this was just a wonderful memory from my time there. And then just the importance, as mentioned, rooting service and action in the gospel and in prayer. This is in Loyola Hall. This is the chapel. I know it looks different now, but I had the great fortune to be exposed to the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius while I was at Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I spent many an evening in this chapel and found a great source of inspiration for my service and communal experiences in this chapel. This was a photo from the tutoring program I mentioned earlier. Again, just a beautiful photo, and such a wonderful experience of working with these kids, David, Ricardo, Miguel, and Daniel, the kids that we worked with here. The parish staff, just a wonderful group to work with. This was a retreat, a social justice retreat that Brad Mills and I organized to Tijuana about social justice in the parish. This was a trip to build some houses in Tijuana with some of the young adults, just a memorable day. Brad Mills there and some of the young adults. This is an action, or right before an action, that we took around homelessness. Father John speaking with the news about homeless services throughout San Diego. And as mentioned, this was a photo from the memorial service that we had underneath the bridge there on Imperial. So we organized this memorial service with some members of the community and members of the parish. And just again, a beautiful photo of the flowers that were put up for those who lost their life during that outbreak. So in closing, I am so grateful for your community, and I think that it is a place where God is very much present. And I hope that you have a wonderful Lenten season and grow only more in your journey of missionary discipleship. Thank you so much.